Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. Let me introduce myself to you. My name is Ashlee and I'm a homeschooling mom of 4, and I've been sharing my homeschooling journey here on YouTube for about the last 4 years, and we have been homeschooling 6 years now. So it is no surprise, judging by the title of this video, that I have been receiving lots and lots and lots of questions regarding homeschool, with so many more families either choosing or having it chosen for them to homeschool their children during this crazy time that we're living through. I've been receiving so many questions, and I knew that my years of experience were not in vain, and I needed to share what I could as far as wisdom. I do not have all of the answers, but I do have some experience, obviously, to be able to share with you guys. So before we get into the questions, which all came from Instagram, I was blown away by the amount of questions I received. I received almost 300 questions when I specifically asked for new homeschoolers only. So these are questions that if you are new to homeschooling, you probably will have yourself. So I have a ton to answer. I'm going to do my best to answer all of the questions I received, because some of them were repetitive, so I went through them and kind of filtered out the repetitive ones, or at least the ones that I saw were repetitive. But before we get too far into today's video with the Q&A for new homeschoolers, I want to thank today's video sponsor. It is FabFitFun. And if you're new to my channel, you may have never seen me open up one of these amazing seasonal boxes, but I've been working with FabFitFun for a while, and I am so excited because, as you can see, we are going into my favorite season of the year, which is the fall. And so when my box arrived for fall, I am just so excited to open it up with you guys. One thing that I do want to point out, if you have been receiving FabFitFun boxes, you might notice that the packaging is a little bit different. I believe they changed their packaging to make it more eco-friendly, and so that is really cool. Before I show you all the good stuff that is in here, if you have never heard of FabFitFun, it is a seasonal subscription box, so it comes 4 times per year. You will receive tons of awesome things in here: full-sized beauty items, lifestyle items, jewelry. This necklace I actually got in there, one box, just fitness things, all kinds of things. It's like a box of goodies for you, and I think we can all use a little joy showing up on our doorstep 4 times a year. So if you've never tried FabFitFun, I will have a link and a coupon code for you to use down in my description box, so be sure to check it out. I do want to just quickly say that when you are homeschooling, it is very important to continue to do things for you, as far as self-care goes. So for me, that's like exercise, and then doing things like this is just really important to just have a little treat for yourself. It's okay to treat yourself. So I am going to show you guys what I got in my box. I do know some of the items because you are able to customize some of your items. So everything doesn't have to be a surprise unless you want it to be. I want to choose what I get, so I always go on and customize my preferences, and you can do the same thing too, to make sure that you're getting some things that you actually, you know, have your eye on, versus just a complete blind surprise. So let's open her up. So we have some little packing materials you can see here. Okay, so the first thing that I have to show you guys are these blue light blocking glasses. So let's take a peek. They are by the brand Nectar. I actually get asked a lot when I share on Instagram what You guys always ask, what are my blue light glasses? Those actually aren't blue light. Those are prescription. I have a really severe astigmatism in my left eye, and I technically should wear glasses all the time, but I just am bad and a rebel and I don't. So these are just blue light blocking, and I think they're pretty cute. I love like this brown tortoise shell kind of like outline. And so if you're just someone that is on your phone or on the computer or whatever, blue light blocking glasses are really good for you, so, and good for your eyes. So these are really, really cute. I like these. You never know. I have a very large face, and so I need big glasses, so I never know what I'm gonna get. The next thing we have here, and you guys can see, like, these are not little travel size things. They're full-sized items. So this is the it's a Tranquility Sleep Mist, cruelty-free, gluten-free, paraben-free, sulfate-free, vegan. And it has lavender oil, which promotes calmness, witch hazel, which protects the skin and improves softness. So this is to spray on your skin. So let's see what this smells like. Oh yeah, I can smell the lavender, but it's not like overpowering, so I really like that. So, oh, actually you can spray it on your bed or your sheets. It also says your skin, so you can use both. I really like that. The next thing we have here is the Laundress Crease Release Removes Wrinkles Spray. Thank goodness, because I do not iron. Fun fact. My husband will probably actually really like this. Non-toxic and biodegradable. So you just spray it on things, and then you don't need to iron, I think. It's really nice. And it's safe for all fabrics, so that's pretty cool. The next thing I have in here, ooh, this was one thing that I chose out, are these little like barrettes. Clips like this are in style if you're looking for style advice. Let me take off this headband here to show you guys how I would do this. So I would just pin back one side and leave the other side out, and maybe do two just for fun. When we did our family pictures at the beach, see how cute that looks? I'm gonna leave it. When we did our family pictures at the beach, I did that with some other barrettes, so I really like that. This, I was so jazzed about, you guys. This alone, this Anastasia Beverly Hills Clear Brow Gel in this size from Sephora is something I order when I run out, and it is around $35 or $40. So just this right here is the value of this entire box, and that is fact. So I was so excited when I saw this. I didn't need it yet, but I was like, yes, I'm getting that now because it's such a deal. This stuff is brow, it's amazing. I have it on right now. When you do your brows, you just put a little on there, it holds them in place. It's just awesome. I love this stuff. And like I said, the price point of the box, especially if you use the coupon. So next we have Dr. Dennis Gross Alpha Beta Pore Perfecting Refining Serum. This is for issues with pores enlarged and clogged with excessive oil, and you, if you want smaller looking pores and a smooth, flawless complexion. Can't think of anyone that doesn't want a smooth, flawless complexion, and it's an oil, which I love. There's something about oils, like it just feels so good on your face. Can't wait to try that. I can use all the help I can get. And then the next one we have here is Beauty Paper Golden Superfood Antioxidant Shower Gel Pumpkin, Argan, Apricot, Orange, and Aloe Vera. So like a little fall shower gel. I love that. And I bet it smells so good. Yeah. It's not overwhelming. That's one thing that I love about all the products that I get in FabFitFun. None of the fragrance is like, whoa. It's all very subtle and natural, which I really, really appreciate. And the last thing that we have in the box is now empty, is this cute black tote. And I know once I start like having this on and showing wearing it, people are gonna say, where did you get that? And I'm gonna have to say FabFitFun. So this is like a wipeable, just classic black bag. In the fall, I like to go with a black purse. And so I saw this and I just thought it was super cute. It has like a zipper here on the side, and the straps are long enough to where it sits under the shoulder. I hate when they're short and then your whole purse is like in your armpit, so that's really nice. And it is the brand Botcure. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it's pretty big, which is what I need, and I'm really excited. So that is everything that I got in my fall FabFitFun box. If you guys want to check it out, you can. The link is down below. Be sure to use the link and the coupon code to save yourself some money, if for nothing else, to snag this awesome eyebrow gel. So now that the unboxing is done, thank you FabFitFun for partnering with me on today's video. I am going to get my iPhone out and answer all of your new homeschooling questions. All right, guys, so now it's time to answer the questions. And when I said I got a lot of them, here's my phone. Like, I got a lot of them, okay? So sit down, get comfy, grab a cup of coffee, because these are all questions that new homeschoolers have, and I want to answer them to the best of my knowledge and ability and experience. I don't have all the answers, but I'm here to lend support for what I can. And I'm going to try to keep the answers short and concise while still answering the question. So the first one is, how do you manage your time to stay balanced? Well, I think that having a balanced schedule is a myth. I don't think that that actually exists. However, I think what's important is determining what your greatest priorities are, and maybe 3 things that day, and accomplishing those things. Time blocking helps me, where I will say, you know, between the hours of 9 and 3, that is homeschooling time. After 3, I've got an hour for cleaning, and I just do what I can. And I kind of break up my schedule that way. That works well for me, but the ever elusive, perfectly balanced schedule is not out there. The next question is, what kind of read-alouds would you recommend for littles? Mine are in first and K. So you can actually take a look back through my curriculum playlist that I have here on my channel and see what books I was reading to my children when they were younger. We used to use a curriculum called Sunlight, and it was very heavy in reading, and you'll definitely get some very good book ideas then. The next question is, how do you stay motivated and on top of things? So I am this is me personally, and obviously you may be different, but I am a generally productive, task-oriented type of person. So that's just my wiring internally. So yes, I do have to try to maintain and keep up with things. It requires effort, but it probably doesn't require as much effort from me as it would for someone who doesn't have a personality that lends itself that direction. So I think the biggest thing for me is, when I am feeling unmotivated, it's usually because I'm tired. And so what can I do to not be tired? I can go to bed earlier, I can eat well, I can exercise, really anything to boost my energy. And staying on top of things, my trick with that is addressing whatever comes up immediately. So I'm not someone who's like, oh yeah, in 3 days I'll get to that, because by then I'll have 3 more days of things that I need to get to. So I think staying on top of things, whether it be messes, housework, schoolwork, is just easier when you just tackle whatever that day presents by the end of that day. I try not to let things carry over to the next day. And is that always 100% the case? No, but I feel like that is how I stay on top of things. The next one is, hi, I have an 8 and 4-year-old. I am attempting to teach my 4-year-old how to read this year. Any tips? My biggest tip for teaching a little person to read is not to make it stressful, and to not get frustrated with them, and to allow it to happen naturally and in its time. So reading to them, reading with them, helping them sound things out. In general, you want to teach like letter recognition first, and then you want to move on to like sounds and then blends, and there's kind of a format to doing it. But the biggest thing I can say as far as advice goes is to not make it stressful. 4 is very young to be reading. You know, like reading fluently. So it's really just about encouraging their love for reading and fostering their confidence so that they feel like they're doing a really great job. The next question is advice on teaching K, especially to an active boy. So my advice for teaching kindergarten to an active child is to keep the seated work doesn't even have to be done seated, but if you wanted him to be seated, would be to keep it pretty short, probably an hour at best, and allow him to learn through play and experience and bedtime stories, and make sure he's getting a lot of physical activity in the day before you are asking him to sit down and do some focused work. And also sometimes you do need to incentivize a little bit. So when my boys were younger and I had one that really had a struggle with his attention span, I did need to incentivize him to focus on what he was doing. And I didn't have to do that forever, but on those really hard days, sometimes that's what I did. So that's my advice there. Recommendations for core math and why not to worry about new or old math. Okay, so I'm thinking you're asking regarding like Common Core. So you would have to ask yourself, are your kids going to go back to public school like in the near future? Is that something that you're planning on doing like next year? Because if it is, you would probably want to continue to teach math the way that they're going to be learning it when they return to public school, just because it is so starkly different from the traditional way that math has been taught for hundreds of years before they made that change. So yeah, that's what I would say. Most curriculums that teach math in the traditional way that we all grew up learning it are going to lay the foundations really well. And so I don't think that your kids wouldn't be able to go back to public school and do Common Core math. It just might make them say like, why do I have to do all this work when I can just add these numbers, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm not really familiar with any curriculums that use Common Core like specifically, but I know that most curriculums exceed the levels of Common Core as far as the grades go. The next question is best way to homeschool when you have a 1-year-old who doesn't nap by herself. So I would say to do like things in chunks of time, so that way she's not just kind of left to entertain herself or toddle around for an extended amount of time. I would do a lot of the focus teaching while she's like eating a snack in her high chair or something like that. And then I would probably do like reading with them both, and then if you need to do additional reading, I would do that like at bedtime and maybe delay that child's bedtime after sister goes to bed, because I know you said she doesn't nap, but she probably does have a bedtime. So that's kind of what I would do, and I would just break it up into chunks. The next question is, how do you track and give grades, especially with the Good and the Beautiful language arts curriculum? So I don't grade my kids' work because I check their work every day they do it, and I make sure that they've gotten it right. If it's wrong, we correct it. So I don't grade their work because we immediately give our attention to it if it's wrong, because I don't want them to move on and have like the prior thing not understood. In my state, I'm not required to submit grades. Now, if your state requires you to submit grades, then you're gonna have to go through it. But I honestly, if I had to submit grades, I would still do it the same way. I would have my child complete it, I would check it, we would go over if there was any mistakes, and then I would just put a grade on the top of it. That's what I would do, but that's me. The next question is, I'm on the second page now. I told you guys this was gonna be pretty long. Favorite character training or Bible curriculums. I've shared my 24 Family Ways by Clay Clarkson. That is my all-time favorite so far. I'm trying a new character training program from a company called September & Co. I haven't used it yet, but it looks promising, so I'll be sure to let you guys know. But that's my favorite has been the 24 Family Ways. The next question is homeschool room versus no room. I think it really depends. I think it depends on your kids' ages, and I think it depends on your house. I've done it both ways, and we've had great successful years both ways. So I really think it just comes down to your house layout, what you like. If you've got younger kids that you need to keep an eye on, it's much more difficult to kind of isolate yourself to a room. So I've done it both ways, and both ways work well. We still to this day do not do all of our schooling in our homeschool room. We do half of it downstairs, like in our main living area. The next question is, how long do you teach each subject before a break, and what do you have your kids do on a break? So I don't teach subjects by time. I teach them by lesson. So we do one lesson of everything pretty much per day. So some of those take longer, some are shorter, so I don't really time it. I just have points in our day where we take like a snack break and a lunch break. So that's the way that I do it, and I have a whole like schedule video on my channel that you could check out. The next one is, when you need to do one-on-one, what do you have your other kids do? So I usually will have them working on something independently. As a homeschooling mom of multiple kids who are all school aged, I very much feel like a ping pong ball just bouncing around from child to child. And so I'll get one going, and then I'll come over to this one and get them going. But they know what to do. I make a routine and a flow for them so that they're not always waiting on me. And I purposely give them things that I know that they can do on their own, so that way they have some independent work, which allows me to work one-on-one with my other kids while the other ones are doing things independently, like handwriting, vocabulary programs, silent reading, typing. Those are all things that my kids at these ages can do themselves. The next one is differentiating the types of homeschool, unschooling, classical, Charlotte Mason, also mastery versus spiral math. What does that mean? Okay, so I'm not an expert on all the different methods of homeschooling, and that's because I don't subscribe to one method of homeschooling. I don't identify with one idea or like method that I just think is the end all be all of life. There are a lot of homeschoolers that do, and that's not where I'm at. I spend very little time trying to make sure that everything I'm doing is within this this ideology of homeschooling, because I feel very much like my homeschool is led by the Holy Spirit. So I think if you want to look into the different styles or methods, you can just Google those words and kind of educate yourself on what the main points are for each thing. Mastery versus spiral math is something that I do know a lot about, because I did need to decide what was going to be better. So mastery, to put it really simply, is you don't introduce a new mathematical concept to a child until they have mastered wherever they're at. So that means when they're learning multiplying, all they're doing is multiplying every single day until they master that. Spiral, the spiral learning method, or the spiral, math, is where you kind of circle back around to things. So you'll add on a new concept, then you'll revisit some of the previous concepts, and you'll review, and then you'll add on another one, and then you'll review the previous ones, and it kind of works like that. So that's a pretty simple explanation of those things. The next one is how to avoid frustration when your kid doesn't want to work. He's 3. Sorry for so many questions. Well, a 3-year-old is a toddler, and so I wouldn't be having them do any work at that point, because you're getting frustrated because they don't want to do it, and they don't want to do it because they're 3. And every child is different. So I would just let him be and try again when he's 4. My son is 3 and started with Montessori. I think that's the same person asking that question. So that's my advice. 3 is way too young. Homeschooling with a newborn, give me tips. Well, I never homeschooled with a newborn. I started homeschooling when my youngest was 2. However, newborns sleep a lot and they can be worn. So those would be my 2 biggest tips. Do what you can when they're sleeping, and do, you know, have your kids come to you if you're nursing, baby wear, all those things. What else? Kindergarten, doing language arts and math with my son and read-alouds. Anything else? No. That's the basics, and that's great. The next one is 4-year-old boy who has 0 interest in learning basics. Any tips or tricks to encouraging interest? So your boy is interested in things, maybe just not the things that you want him to be interested in. So whatever he's interested in, I would try to engage him in that way, whether it's dinosaurs or trucks or, you know, monsters or whatever it can be. You know, you can sit on the floor and he's playing dinosaurs and you say, oh, what color is that one? Ooh, look at that dinosaur. Is that one bigger or smaller? Oh, let's line those up and count them. How many are there? You know, that kind of thing. Brontosaurus, it starts with B, that kind of thing. That's what I would do. Some kids are just not into, like, let's learn letters, and they need to be approached in a different way. The next one is kids are 1 and 3-year-old, how to introduce a homeschooling routine. Those are babies. Don't rush it. I wouldn't even bother with any of that. Do you stick to your flow every day, even if there are park field trip invites? To some extent, yes. We generally always do our morning time, and then it would be like our independent work that we might not get to if we have a field trip or a park outing in the afternoon. But so I just pick and choose based on that week. You know, what do we need to do? I just kind of assess things as they come. But that is also why I'm moving us to a 5-day-a-week homeschooling schedule, because then if we miss doing independent math or language arts because we go to the park on a Friday afternoon, we've still schooled, for, like, done their independent work 4 days a week. So the next question is, how have I approached grammar in English? My son is technically in 5th grade. So we've used the Good and the Beautiful language arts for the last 3 years, and it's worked beautifully for our family. How long will a school day be from Bible to the end? There is no way for me to tell you that, because that just depends on your curriculum choices, and a lot of that depends on your children. I like to just plan for a whole day, because then if we finish early, it's like, oh, we have bonus time. But if I'm like secretly hoping that everyone's done by noon and then we are there at 2 o'clock, then that can affect my attitude. So I just plan on a full day. So we generally will start between 8:30 and 9, and I'm planning on having my entire day until 3 o'clock be occupied with, it's our school day. I plan nothing during those hours unless it's something that like has to be done, and then I adjust our schedule around it. What devotional did you choose when your kids were younger, 4 through 9? I read to them out of the Storybook Bible when they were little like that, and we enjoyed that a lot, and Veggie Tales as well. How did you handle read-alouds when they were younger, 4 and 9? I did bedtime stories because when they were little, there was a lot less extracurricular stuff going on, and so we would just all gather up either on my bed or one of their beds, and we would read to them. I would read chapter books to them, and that's how we did it then. I'm looking for curriculum to teach my 10th grader Spanish if you have any suggestions. I've never used it before, but it comes highly praised to me, and we are doing it this year. It is Bob Jones University or BJU Press Spanish, so check that out. How do you make schooling at home fun? My son says I need to be more fun. Well, ask him what he means by that. If he says, oh, I want to go on more field trips, then try to make that happen. Oh, I want to do this. You know, you can take their advice. I like to think of the homeschooling relationship as getting feedback from them on certain things too. The next question is, how do you do cooking and housework and homeschooling at the same time? So when I am schooling, I am schooling. And when I am done schooling, then I am cooking and doing housework. I am never, ever, unless they're like completely doing something totally independent, I might toss in a load of laundry, but I'm never like expecting my kids to be doing schoolwork while I'm like vacuuming the house. That doesn't send the right message to the children about their education anyway. So I don't try to do cooking and housework while we do school. I will start dinner in the crock pot before we start school, or I'll have chicken marinating before we start school, so that way when I get to that part of my day, then I'm cooking dinner. But I'm never trying to do the two at the same time. So the next question is, what are basics? I feel so overwhelmed. So the basics are math, reading, and writing. Those three things. How far in advance do you plan out your year for the little ones? Well, it depends on how little they are. My youngest is now 8, and so we plan pretty much the whole year ahead of time, and I break it down into 3 month quarters, where I like check in and make sure we're on track. The next one is, how do you motivate a child to read? The child doesn't want to slow down to sound out words. That's a tough question, but I would just continue to just be diligent and just not get frustrated. Continue to read and just say, slow down, you know, and just be very encouraging. Reading can really take a wrong turn when there's too much pressure or there's a negative experience that destroys confidence. So that was always my focus. The next question is, how do you find like-minded mamas to connect with? I have found my friends in the oddest places. So it's hard in real life. So I say you just have to put yourself out there enough and weed out where you don't feel like you belong or you don't connect, to find the ones that you do connect with. And that's the tough part, because nobody wants to go through that, and I don't blame you. Do you prep your school 1 week or a month or a season at a time, or at all? So all of my curriculum is already prepared. There's not much for me to do there. But like I'll prepare my science unit for the quarter before the quarter starts. So I guess I prepare things like that in advance, probably, 3 months or so. Science and history for young kids, oldest is 6. I wouldn't bother with either of those things with just a 6-year-old. Do you give SAT or ACT tests? How do I know my child is meeting or exceeding? That is something that is very hard for homeschoolers to let go of, meeting or exceeding. SATs and ACTs can be taken in plenty of different ways, so I won't be administering those tests for my kids. They'll be going somewhere to take those. How do you know if your child is meeting or exceeding? Well, I would say meeting what or exceeding what, and I would challenge you to let go of those things. Strict state guidelines. I'm afraid to overload my son, but also not meet guidelines. Yeah, that's overwhelming. If I lived in a strict state, it probably would add a level of stress to my homeschool. So I say just really be knowledgeable on the laws and what's required of you, and then really try to find something that works. For example, if geography, is a requirement or something, there are so many different geography programs. Some of them are going to be way intense and some are going to be more basic. So if your child is overwhelmed and you're overwhelmed, then try finding something that's a little more basic but still fulfills the requirement. How do you balance discipline and parenting in school, like not listening during school time? Okay, so with homeschooling, I'm mom always. I don't go into like a teacher mode So there's no difference. The discipline rules are the same, whether it's because they didn't do their chores or because they have a poor attitude with spelling. It's the same thing. And so I just try to always be gracious first, firm, give a warning, and then let them know what the consequence is going to be, and then follow through. Okay, so last page of questions, because this is already super duper long. I'm gonna try to do this rapid fire. Advice for kindergarten. Okay, I gave it. Keep it simple and just do the basics and make it really fun and just focus on having memories with your kids. Tips for keeping little ones entertained while working one-on-one with an older child. There's things like busy bags, Play-Doh, just putting some toys away that they don't always get access to can do a world of difference. It's like a new thing, and engage them in what you're doing as much as you can. What if your kids are just not having it that day? Do you push or stop? Well, I think that you would have to decide that as a parent, but in general, school is not a choice my kids get to make for the day. But like if we're going through something as a family that's like really emotional or something huge happened, then there have been times where we have not schooled that day as well. So I think it really just depends, but I don't think it's your kid's choice to choose when they do schooling. How can I balance homeschool with a preschooler while working full-time at home? I already answered that balance question. I think it's a myth, and I think we just gotta let that go. I think time blocking, like I shared, would probably be really helpful for you. How does an athlete get scouted for colleges if they don't go to school? Well, your homeschooled kids can generally play for their zone schools, but a lot of scholarships, probably the majority of college scholarships, come from club athletics. So club soccer, club baseball, so your kid gets noticed there when they travel to play at these college showcase tournaments and things like that. The next one is, how long did it take to find what routine worked best for your family? Well, every year I have a little bit of a new routine. I take what has worked and I keep it, and I modify what has changed and needs to be changed. But I think you're asking how long did it take for me to feel like I was in a good flow, and I would say a year. What's my take on Abeka? I've never used it because it just really reminds me of just like traditional public school type work, and when my kids were little I really wanted to get away from that, but I do know that it's thorough, so that's good. Do you think it's okay to homeschool an only child? Absolutely. Some of these are hard to read. What do you think about CC? Thinking that may help me with my first year of accountability. So I know a lot of people that really love CC. CC is Classical Conversations because it gives you like a community group and it takes a lot of the actual schooling off of your plate. However, we never did it, and it's not something I would personally want to do, but I know that a lot of people really like it. How much time per day in schoolwork for a first grader? Again, that is going to largely depend on your child and what you're asking them to do. However, I can tell you that when my kids were taken out of public school, they were in second grade, first grade, kindergarten, and preschool, and the longest we were ever doing school for the day was like 2.5 hours. So get a lot done quickly. And the last question here. How do you keep record to hand in? In PA, we have to keep proof. Okay, so I don't have to submit anything, thank you, Lord. And if I did, we would be moving. But just know your rules in your state, and maybe try to connect with some other homeschooling moms that can show you what system that they've done. So, I'm sorry, I can't help with Pennsylvania, but the HSLDA website is crucial for homeschooling laws, and if you can afford to support them, I really recommend that you guys do because they are legal advocates. Some of them are lawyers that protect our right to the choice of education for our children. So that's very important. So that is going to be it for the new homeschooling question Q&A. I hope that this helped you guys. If you have any other questions and you're a new homeschooler, post them down in the comments and I will answer you. And if you're a seasoned homeschooler and you see a new homeschooler's question, feel free to answer them too. So I hope this video helps. Give me a thumbs up before you go. Be sure to check out the FabFitFun link down in the description box, and I'll see you guys in my next video really soon. Bye guys.